Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with a retro review of movie 8mm. Why are we doing now? Why a retro review of 8mm? Well, simply put, this past weekend, Joel Schumacher, who directed 8mm, as well as The Lost Boys, Flatliners, and a couple Batman movies that I prefer to forget about, passed away after a year-long battle with cancer. And while there have been plenty of talks about favorite Schumacher movies, or why why various people love Lost Boys or Flatliners, hell, there are probably even some spirited defenses of Batman Forever and maybe even Batman and Robin. Which, yeah, well, I thought, why not? Why not look at a one of the lesser regarded, but actually one of the lesser regarded, and potentially underrated Schumacher films. So 8mm is about a private investigator who is hired by the widow of a recently deceased industrialist to basically verify verify the authenticity of a what appears to be a snuff film that she's found in his belongings in her late husband's belongings after his death. Some quick takes. It's a very dark and dingy movie, and to be perfectly honest, if Batman Forever and Batman and Robin had a feel like 8mm and a production design similar to Flatliners, they probably would have actually been good movies. Without, and also completely different at the very least, completely different scripts. But not the point. It's also it's not exactly the easiest movie to watch either, though. It deals with some very disturbing subject matter. So, the cast of note, of course, you got Nicolas Cage as Private Eye Tom Wells. He's a private investigator. He does what most PIs do. He, follows around. Follow around potentially cheating spouses and take pictures to, hey, yeah, your spouse is cheating on you. Or actually, no, they're not. And looks like, but as I said, he's hired by the widow of a wealthy industrialist, as she found what appears to be a snuff film in his belongings. What she really wants to know for certain is that the girl in the video is still alive. So, well, and I've already gotten off track. After Cage, we got Joaquin Phoenix as Max California. Then we got James Gandolfini as Eddie Poole. Max is a bassist who works at a porno shop in Hollywood. Eddie Poole runs a talent agency. We got Peter Stormare as Dino Velvet, and to be perfectly honest, I had completely forgotten that Peter Stormare was in this movie. Peter Stormare is described by Max as a director, producer, and professional weirdo. And Anthony Heald as the lawyer for Wells' client, Longdale. And actually also in a very small bit part is Norman Reedus, actually. Anyway, so the story. After returning from a job in Florida, Tom Wells is contacted to meet with the widow, with a wealthy widow. She tells him about the film. He watches it. He actually kind of is initially, just like, I don't. You can, with special effects, you can do a lot. So, but at the very least, he'll try and make sure that the girl's still alive. And he figures that more than likely that'll be the case. So he starts looking, but all he has to go by is her. He ends up using taking a screen cap from the film. He uses a photo reference. He does manage to find out her name and where she's from. She was reported missing a few years previously, and so he talks to her mother. Finds her diary, which leads him to first leads him to the ex-boyfriend, played by Norman Reedus, and then eventually to California, where he meets Max. Max, being younger and more in tune with more, shall we, with a broader cross section of people, is able to get Wells in the door to places where some of the really, where one can potentially purchase really sick stuff that isn't distributed in any particularly legal manner when it comes to pornography. He also manages to find where the young girl was staying, finds out more about her, and he ends up going to trying to get information from from the talent agency run by Eddie Poole. And as things go on, though, it just gets darker and darker. And normally in a retro review, I would actually bring up how the film ends. But to be perfectly honest, I would much rather not let you know how it ends. And those of you who might be interested after watching this might, opt to view it yourself. The ups and downs of the movie. It's on the upside. It's really tightly written. As I mentioned previously, it's got a very dingy and grimy feel to it. The characters are well written. Hell, Cage himself is actually rather subdued. Yeah, there's of course the trademark Nicolas Cage freak out at one point, but it feels right. It feels like this is a point when someone would freak out. But overall, it's a on the down. I would say on the downside, it's you can say it can be hard to watch at points. That's actually kind of one of its strengths. Downside, most I'd say is that Catherine Keener, who plays Tom's wife, feels kind of wasted in the role. Everything we learn concerning her is more things about her, not things that affect her rather than things about her. She's an accountant. That's like the most we get about it. She's an accountant. Her father seems to think that Wells's PI work needs a boost that a rich client would give. Yeah, there's really there's not much really said about the character. It's in fact, it's rather interesting that Dino Velvet, who really only pops up for in the film's third act, is a much more fleshed out character. Also, Peter Stormare is just great because I mean it's Peter Stormare. When is he ever not great? It's not a perfect movie. There are little issues with it, but nothing. Every downside I can think of would be rather nitpicky. Overall, it's a good yet potentially harrowing and disturbing film. Definitely a good detective thriller, so to speak. And I'd say an overall rating would be either a high 3.5 out of 5 or a low 4 out of 5. Anyway, that's it for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.